I am happy to announce today's speaker is the Mass Gaming Commissioner, Bruce Stebbins. He has a long history of public service. He recently served as Business Development Administrator for the City of Springfield. He's worked in the George H.W. Bush White House and Governors William Weld and Paul Cellucci, and all kinds of things in between. We have a slightly different format this month. As you can tell, it's going to be more of a fireside chat. Kareem Hill, our president, is going to facilitate the discussion with the commissioner. We're excited to hear what he has to say. We're going to have an opportunity for questions afterwards, and we are going to have Caitlin walk around with a mic. So if you do have questions, if you could hold them until Caitlin gets the mic to you so that everybody can hear your question, we would appreciate that. So please welcome Bruce Stebbins.
Again, thank you to all the business partners that came and that have been here that are supporting us with this. This is something new for us. And I purposely chose Commissioner Stebbins for this type of format for three reasons. One, he has a great story, right? He's got a great story. As Susan said, he's worked in the city of Springfield in various positions, worked for previous governors, and even worked for previous presidents. So he's got a great story. The second reason I chose him was his work with the Mass Gaming Commission, I think, is an undertold story in the Commonwealth. I talk to business owners all the time, and I rarely hear them talk about gaming because it has tremendous impact on what we do daily. So I wanted Bruce to come here and speak about that. But most importantly, for the third reason, Bruce is a great sport. And you have to be a great sport when you're the guinea pig on anything, right? So this is the first time we've done this fireside chat thing. I can't say the person doing the interviewing is going to do a good job, but I chose Bruce because I know he's a good sport. And as I mess up, he will be fine and be versatile with me. So, Bruce, thank you for coming and doing
My
this
pleasure. I was happy to find this out as I was coming in the door this morning, that this was the first time you're doing this. So I'm excited.
That's right.
This is great.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's what you do. You tell them all they need to know when they get there. So that's what we do. So Bruce, as we get into it, talk a little bit about yourself and how you got to this post as gaming commissioner.
Wow. Interestingly enough, and probably a lot of you in the room might be more familiar with this type of situation, but I came home from work one day and there's a letter from a headhunter. And it said, I can't remember the name of the firm, so if you're a headhunter firm out there that was involved in the search, my apologies. And it said, hey, we're looking for a member of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. If you or anybody you might know would be interested, please give us a call. So I said, why not? I picked up the phone, I called them, and this is March of 2012, and I'd been kind of following the news, and I heard about people getting appointed to the commission already. And I went from a call with a headhunter to a meeting in Boston with some of the senior level staff from the governor's office, the treasurer's office, and the attorney general's office. I went from that to an interview in one room by myself with the governor, the attorney general, and the treasurer at the time, to about a week later getting a call from the attorney general saying, do you want the job? Have to admit, as daunting as that interview might have sounded, I was very happy doing what I was doing, so I didn't feel compelled or nervous about the interview. But as you can imagine from the background Susan laid out, I'm a Republican, and I walked into a room with 3 Democrats. I think I was pretty candid and said, I'm not sure I voted for any of you, and they said, that's okay. And when I went back and looked at the statute, I saw the language that said no more than 2 commissioners can be from one party. I'm like, oh, I had to be the token in there somewhere. But really enjoyed a a conversation with the three of them, and I really had a great chance to get to know the Governor Patrick and Attorney General Coakley and Treasurer Grossman, and this is a pretty small room, so maybe I can share this highlight from the interview. So the interview is starting to wrap up, and Treasurer Grossman looks at me and he goes, "I understand you can do a James Earl Jones impression." I'm like, I know I didn't put that in my resume, so I'm not sure where you're pulling this from, but it was, I figured at that point I was pretty confident I was a candidate in the running. And the Attorney General called me up, offered me the job, and I was ready to say yes, and she goes, "No, don't give me an answer." She goes, "Sleep on it, talk about it with your wife one more time, and then call me back in the morning." So I thank the three of them for the opportunity to serve on this commission. It's been an incredible opportunity. I'd like to say I can mirror to starting a small business, because you walk through the door and there's 7 of you. It helps that you had about a $20 million check from the state to kind of get up and running. But it's been an incredible experience, building a team, building a structure. Like I said, I walked through the door, there were 5 of us, a receptionist and a woman who was kind of being a jack of all trades as our chief of staff. So it's been an exciting, coming up on 6 years.
Very good, very good. So talk to us a little bit. So I've lived in cities and states with casinos. So I lived in Milwaukee for a couple years. I lived in Tampa, Florida, they have casinos there. That's kind of part of the ecosystem there, right? It's just normal way of going about business in Tampa. How is it different and in the Commonwealth, building a casino, a program from scratch? How is that different?
I give a lot of credit to, and again, we weren't around at the kind of formulation of the statute, and many of you in this room know that the concept or idea of gaming in Massachusetts has been 20, 30 years part of the conversation. I'd like to look at the statute and think that Massachusetts probably had the benefit of looking at what other jurisdictions had done, and you mentioned a couple of them. I think where Massachusetts has got it right in the statute is they did a couple of things. First of all, they gave a lot of local control. Massachusetts, we seem to be famous for local control, let communities decide. And they built into the process that step of, it's not going to be the state deciding where we're going to plunk a casino. It really should be the communities that come to that decision. So I think that was helpful. And that's not the case in all states. I think the fact that they looked at setting a limit on the number of licenses helped. We've seen other jurisdictions where they start with a certain number of licenses, and once the tax revenue starts flowing, they say, this is a pretty good idea. Let's throw a few more licenses out there. And I think that has the tendency to dilute the economic impact. So they carved up the state. They said we'll have 3 what we call Category 1 licenses. Those are for what we imagine is the resort casino. And they wanted to make sure that there was a slots parlor casino, which as we structured it, we could open faster, we could get some money flowing back to the Commonwealth, we could create some jobs in pretty quick order. I also think tackling a slots parlor first kind of prepared us for what was going to be the deliberations and discussion of the bigger resort casino applications.
Very nice. So I know the MGM casino, you and I deal quite often on that one, because I'm sitting on the vendor advisory board for Bruce and the other commissions. So MGM is scheduled to open up when?
MGM is going to open in September of this year. So we have kind of a countdown clock. Our team is going through all the steps that we need to make sure that they are ready to open. We actually give them a certificate of operation. We actually issue them their alcohol license as well, is provided under the statute. That is going to be, I would say at the end of the day, it's going to be over $1 billion project in Western Mass, which it will be, or it is, the largest private construction project in the history of the Commonwealth out in Western Massachusetts. It's going to have about 3,000 employees. It's an interesting resort. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it was built right in downtown Springfield. It was actually, part of the property was hit by a tornado back in 2011 that swept through downtown Springfield and damaged and destroyed a number of buildings. They are blending kind of buildings that were there that weren't damaged, some older historic buildings with some new construction. They're going to have a bowling alley, a movie theater, restaurants, an outdoor entertainment plaza. They're going to have a hotel. We heard a lot about the hotel during our deliberations. The hotel is actually going to use the facade of an old historic building that back in the early 1800s, President Pope stayed there, so there was some clamor by local historical preservationists that somehow that part of the building needed to be secured, and so they did a facade-ectomy to add that on to the front of the hotel. But again, these are all jobs coming and going right into downtown Springfield. Some interesting developments out of that is right across the street is the Massachusetts Mutual Civic Center, hockey arena, convention facility. MGM has taken over the contract to actually manage that facility. So all of the great acts and entertainment that MGM corporate has connections to, they'll now hopefully be able to program that space at the Mass Mutual Center probably in a way that really hadn't been done before. And their idea is to actually get people not just to, the typical kind of casino model that some of us think of is come into the casino, don't venture out, stay till you have no money left and go home. They actually want you to come, enjoy, stay. They want you to venture out to other restaurants. There was an interesting part of the statute that a number of the kind of performing theater performance venues across Massachusetts pushed to be part of the statute, which is saying, we don't want you to compete against us. And an applicant had to actually go out and work an agreement with a local theater company or a local symphony hall and say, let's find a way to be a partner. So they want their guests to not only come visit MGM, but at the same time, they have a partnership, in the case of Springfield, with Springfield Symphony Hall and with City Stage, so that they want their patrons to go off the property and enjoy those. And I think that, again, goes back to the uniqueness of the Massachusetts statute. They had the benefit of seeing how other jurisdictions maybe didn't get it done right. But I think they were really thoughtful, our legislators and the governor, I think they were really thoughtful about, again, the idea that we want casinos to be an economic engine for the area.
Very nice. I have the luxury of sitting in rooms with Bruce and the chief procurement officer of MGM. We do it bi-monthly, I think it's how often they do it?
Every month, I think.
Every month.
Or a conference call.
Yeah, and I've had the luxury of being in those rooms and hearing from MGM directly around what they want, the economic impact they want for Western Massachusetts. So everything you articulated is 100% accurate. Let me ask you this, Bruce. So MGM seems pretty far down the road because it's going to open up this end of this year. Then we've got this other beast in Everett, right? That's in the news.
I knew you were going.
Yes, I have to. I have to. It's been mandated by one of the members. They told me I had to do it. So give me your high-level overview as to where Everett is in terms of that project, and then I'll ask you about the public hearing you have tomorrow.
Sure. As you know, we awarded what we call the Region A license, which includes Boston out to Worcester County and then up to the North Shore. We awarded it to Wynn Casinos for what the majority of the commissioners thought was a very strong project. It's been an interesting construction project. They are right on the shore of the Mystic River, reclaiming an old Monsanto chemical site. They took out upwards of 600,000 tons of contaminated dirt. They've dredged parts of the Mystic River. Obviously, everybody in this room is aware of the news stories that has kind of put Wynn, the company, as well as obviously Mr. Wynn himself, kind of in the hot seat of these allegations and how the company has responded to these allegations. I think it's important to remember that when we issue a license for any of these casinos to operate, or we issue a license for an individual to work at a casino, that it's a conditional license, that if anything comes up during the term of the license, and the larger resort casinos get a 15-year license, our slots parlor right down 495 in Plainville has a 5-year license, that suitability is ongoing. It's not just one snapshot in time. So where we are is our investigative enforcement team is doing a background investigation into the allegations, into the response of the company and how Wynn functions. There seems to be new news dripping out about it every day, but for the time being, the construction project in Everett continues. The Everett Wynn team that is on site, the Wynn Boston Harbor team that is on site, is still going out and recruiting and interviewing potential employees. They're going out and still holding vendor fairs or vendor opportunities to get to know potential local service providers and goods and service providers. So that is still ongoing, even while the commission is obviously still doing this full investigation into the suitability of the company itself.
Very nice. So you talked about economic impact when it comes to gaming. So do you have any overarching idea around how many jobs we're anticipating gaming bringing to the Commonwealth, how it affects the small to mid-sized business owner? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Just to give you a snapshot of the projects that we have out there. So Plain Ridge Park, which is already opened, it opened in 2015. In 2016, we have a full year's numbers. They generated over $75 million in taxes to the Commonwealth, not to mention local payroll taxes, the local property tax that they pay to the city of Plainville, town of Plainville. They have 500 employees, and it kind of varies depending on the season. MGM, as I mentioned, will have about 3,000 jobs, and Wynn, as their project is currently proposed, has 4,000 jobs. So just among our 3 licensees, you're going to have about 7,500 jobs in Massachusetts. I think what's exciting about a lot of the job opportunities that they offer is that they offer a lot of jobs that don't require a college degree. You can have a high school degree. So for somebody who's been in this economic recovery, kind of on the outside looking in, thinking, where's my job chance going to come to give me the opportunity to pursue a better life, I think the casinos have that opportunity to give somebody a starting point. What has impressed me both about MGM and Wynn is that for each of their positions, even if you start as a blackjack dealer, they can show a career pathway. They can say, okay, blackjack dealer, assistant pit boss, gaming manager. So they can show a progression of job opportunities in front of you if you wish to pursue those. So I think in that terms, it's a good economic engine. The statute, the gaming statute, really wanted our licensees to focus on how they were going to recruit minorities, women, veterans, how they were going to fashion a workforce development plan that would also recruit underemployed or unemployed people potentially into careers. On the spending side, we expect that all 3 of our licensees in a ballpark will spend well over $100 million a year in biddable goods. So that excludes the utility company and their big energy users. That's really going to be them going out and buying a lot of local products, a lot of food and beverage, mattresses. You and I have seen the list periodically. I had no idea that there were like valet packages.
Yeah.
Like I said, what's a valet package? It's the umbrella and the bottles of water and something that goes into the back of, you know, the limo service or car service. So they have a long laundry list out, and I've been impressed by our licensees saying, okay, if your small business can't do that entire bid, let's think about how we break it up. You know, either you go out and partner, or maybe we find somebody who does just this piece of it. So I think they're trying to be that creative. I think for MGM, and you and I have been in these meetings, I think MGM is a little concerned that they've just come off opening a big casino outside of Washington, D.C. They've expressed some concern that they're not seeing Massachusetts companies being hungry enough, which I think to you and I was kind of a surprise. And we don't know whether it's, is the contract opportunity maybe too daunting or a little scary to be working with a company like MGM. So, you know, they have their local procurement teams who are on the ground, who are going out, actually doing site visits with individual vendors, again, to make them more comfortable with the process. For us as a regulator, we need to, we've had this evolution since the statute passed. We've actually tried to be business friendly also, which is, I know for many of you in this room would be shaking your head at government trying to be business friendly, but we're trying. What we said was if you were a small vendor who was not doing more than, say, $10,000 a year in business, that you don't need a license or register with us. The license for a non-gaming vendor is $100, and it's for 5 years. So $20 a year we thought was reasonable. We've also kind of removed some of the, you know, the onerous obligations. Originally we said that the owner had to come in and get fingerprinted. Well, we tried to make it easier, so we removed the fingerprint requirement. It's like, just send us the information. You can now all do it online. We've even made it available so that if you're a non-gaming employee, just somebody who's going to be work in the restaurant, almost as soon as you get the paperwork to us, we give you a conditional license to go ahead and start work. So we're not trying to slow up the process. I'll give you another example. Big emphasis in the statute on engaging veteran-owned businesses. We weren't sure how veterans were getting certified. There are certainly resources out there if you're a woman-owned or a minority-owned business to get certified. So we kind of finagled a system ourselves that would work until a better product came along. And we said, if you give us information, if you've been honorably discharged, you're a veteran, you get the DD-214 form. We said, if you send that into us for our purposes right now, we will allow our licensees to count you just based on that information. So all along the way, we've tried to do this continual process improvement review. We've tried to make it easier. We're trying not to be, and I think this is an attitude shared by my colleagues, we're not trying to be a hurdle as much as, you know, we know sometimes we're going to have to put our foot down, but for the most part, we want to be helpful in getting this industry up and off the ground.
That's excellent. So 2 more questions, and then I'll turn it over to the audience. So you did a great job of articulating the economic impact, 7,500 new jobs, around $100 million in biddable spend from the casinos. How would you address the social impacts that are perceived to come with gaming in the Commonwealth? How would you and the Commission address that?
We are addressing it in a number of ways. And I got to go again back to the statute. The statute identified this issue, recognized this issue. Again, we're going off the benefit of seeing how other jurisdictions have done this. I think where Massachusetts is better positioned to help somebody who might develop an addiction or has an addiction right now. I mean, understand that you have ways to bet right now in New England. You can go to a casino in Connecticut. You can play the lottery. For those of you who don't know, Massachusetts has the highest per capita spend of any lottery in the country. It averages out to about $800 per citizen in Massachusetts spending money on the lottery. So Massachusetts made sure that there is sufficient resources that we're allocating to deal with the addiction issue. We work very closely with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. We have on staff a director of research and responsible gaming. I think what Massachusetts, again, kind of owing back to the structure in the original statute, is that we put money aside to do research. We put money aside to do a baseline study of gaming attitudes in Massachusetts before we introduced casinos. So to the people in Massachusetts that were going to Mohegan Sun or going to Foxwoods or playing the lottery, we were getting a level of a good awareness of what the attitudes of the population are right now about gaming. And we'll continue to follow that. And we have a cohort study where we're going to hopefully track the same individuals or same group of individuals over an extended period of time to see how their attitudes shift. There's some other things that we're doing on the ground. And if you happen to walk into the Plain Ridge Casino, almost as soon as you come in from the elevator, right there is a GameSense booth. Now that's a project in collaboration between us and the Mass Council on Compulsive Gaming. And it's staffed by volunteers, and they're there to kind of generally make you aware of what casino gaming is all about, make you aware of how you can access some resources if you feel you are developing an addiction to gaming. They actually have interactive games you can play. They recently had a vending machine that you go and you hit A2 and your Pop-Tart drops out. Well, they said, we're going to show you the kind of unreasonability of the kind of chance that a gaming machine offers you. So you could hit A2 and all of a sudden K2 pops out your bag of potato chips. So, I mean, it's to kind of give everybody an idea that there's really no rhyme or reason to gaming. It's just how it operates. We also have set up as a pilot project with Penn, and I think we're going to carry this over to the other casinos, is that you have the option to set a budgeting tool for yourself. So if you're walking in, you have a rewards card from one of our licensees, and you're like, I don't want to spend more than $200 this month, but I may not be able to keep track of how much I'm spending. So when you insert your card into the slot machine, it will say you can program, I want to spend $200 a day or a month or weekly. And as you start to approach that budget limit, there will be a reminder on the slot machine. You're 50% of your way to your budget. You're 75% of your way to your budget. Now, it's all voluntary. Mm-hmm. It won't cut you off, but it will keep sending those reminders after you've passed your budget. And the initial results that we've seen is it's working. We have a small percentage of rewards card members who have signed up for it, but we look at it as another tool. One last measure that we're using is an individual has the opportunity to come in and put themselves on a self-exclusion list. Like, help me avoid coming here. I'm giving you permission to find me, escort me off the property, but for different periods of time, they can say, I want to be on the exclusion list because I think I have a problem, and this kind of gives you the ability to remove me from the property if you see me. So lots of different tools out there. MGM is going to be a great partner too. They're giving us GameSense space. We'll work out the kind of play my way program with them in terms of setting a budget on your slot machine.
Very nice. Last question, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. This is my own personal question I want to ask. I ask everyone this question. People that work for me have gotten this question. If you weren't the gaming commissioner, and you could choose any job, what would it be, Bruce?
Wow.
Got him.
Got me.
Stumped him.
And I think I was sharing this with Susan before. I've always liked being around business development, economic development. Before I joined the commission, commission, I was business development administrator for the city of Springfield. And Springfield's my hometown. It was my parents' hometown. I definitely have a passion or affinity for Springfield. But I liked the idea if I could just drive around town and felt I had, with my business card, the opportunity to go knock on the door of any business in the city of Springfield. And once they found out I wasn't from the assessor's office or the building inspector's office, they'd usually let me in. And, you know, I don't think I need to tell this, you know, this crowd, but you like talking about what you're doing. You like talking about your business. And I liked hearing about it. I liked hearing about how we could do some simple things within City Hall to save them or help them out. And some of it would be some wrestling with the assessor's office, but at the end of the day, those kind of little pieces made for a stronger community, and it gave me it really gave me a great chance to connect with my hometown, my home community.
Very nice. Any questions from the audience for Commissioner Stebbins?
Great question. We do have a link off of our website to both MGM and Wynn, and I still believe Plain Ridge Park's kind of vendor connection. I will tell you, you know, great example, MGM wants you to go and register in their system. And just by registering in their system, and it's not extensive, it's about a page-and-a-half form that you need to fill out, that's what they're going to use to go out and push out their bid information. So each company kind of does it differently, but there's a link off the website. Certainly share with Kareem so we can get it out to all of you. But yeah, as much as you can be an ambassador out to the companies you work with to make them aware of this opportunity, all of our licensees kind of want to spend as much locally as they can and then kind of grow in a concentric circle out of that. We tell them not to really go beyond state borders unless they really have to. We also know that some of them have national contracts, but at the same time, if their spending on a national contract can be with a locally based operator or franchisee or what have you, that we count that towards their local spend. And all of our licensees report to us on a quarterly basis. They tell us what they're spending locally. They tell us how much they're spending in certain communities. So we have a way to track that. But to answer your question again, the best, we'll get the link out to you so you can share it. And as much as you can push it out there, I mean, obviously these are companies that have pretty good records of making payments on time, so that's a good thing. That's a great question for casino economists, and they might argue even before Massachusetts was on the map that there was a saturation here already. You know, I think we've picked for our licensees pretty savvy operators who know how to compete, know how to grab their market. What we've learned is there's kind of this, so this June, Plain Ridge Park down in Plainville will have been open 3 years. They feel that right now in a 3-year window, they're kind of they're settling into what they think is their book of business. They've gotten to know their customers. They've gotten to know the products that they're offering their customers. We obviously hope revenue will continue to come in at the rate it has been coming in, I think, for the state, for those concerned about the state coffers. I think Massachusetts, as they'd laid it out, wanted to make sure if we were getting into gaming, we were going to get the best bang for our buck. And that's why they offered a limited number of licenses. I think we're watching other states that are just expanding the number of licenses, and I think that's diluting the economic impact for their state. But I really feel that most the licensees that we've picked are trying to find a way to, one, as we've talked about, spend money locally. They want to connect and be part of what the tourism draws to an area, so hopefully we're drawing money from outside the region as well. And also in the revenue model, 60% of revenue to a casino now is now coming in the forms of non-gaming revenue. So it's a big economic puzzle. You know, there are folks like Clyde Barrow, who used to be at UMass Dartmouth, that watch this stuff all the time. But I think the way Massachusetts has it structured in the business models that we know about from our licensees, I hope we're going to continue to be competitive. And you're right, what is a saturated marketplace in the Northeast?
Any other questions?
Sure. The Region C, which is southeastern Mass out to the Cape, has been, I can characterize it as somewhat of a conundrum for us. Obviously, there was a compact signed between the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and Governor Patrick to develop a casino in Taunton. They've run into a number of legal challenges and bureaucratic challenges in terms of whether they can effectively, as they say, take the land into trust for the reservation so they can, or for the tribe so they can build a casino. At the same time, over the last few years, we would put out opportunities for a commercial operator to come in and bid on a project in southeastern Massachusetts. I believe we went through 2 rounds of that where we got no response. Again, because there was some question about what the tribe was going to be able to do. We ultimately got a proposal for the Region C license. It was from Rush Street Gaming, which operates other casinos, a good operator from everything we can tell. They presented a proposal with us for the city of Brockton. And again, they pushed forward that application, again, with the question mark of the tribe's future kind of hanging over the marketplace. We reviewed the application that they provided. I, as one commissioner, didn't think at the end of the day that their project merited receiving the 3rd license, or the Region C license, so we ended up voting it down 4-1. So unfortunately for southeastern Massachusetts, which is right now to a degree not realizing the benefit that the other 2 regions of the state are that are getting a casino, we're frustrated. We want to see something resolved or something happen, but some of that is completely out of our hands.
Anything else? Well, let me wrap up by saying this. So I thought your question was very strong around how do we get this message out there more to the local business community. I will say this, the New England Business Association has 6 of our members are on the MGM platform. And it's just because my exposure to Bruce and the commission. So that's another reason why I wanted to bring Bruce here, get the full messaging out around what they're doing in the casino space and in the gaming space. So we as a community, a business community, can come in and maximize that local spend, candidly, right? That's our job, to maximize local spend. It's government's job to bring new, exciting ventures and partners into the Commonwealth, and it's our job to maximize their local spend. So, Bruce, thank you very much, my friend, for coming
Happy
and
to
taking
be a
part
guinea
in
pig.
this.
This is great. Hopefully this worked for, you know, don't set all your assumptions aside as to how this works.
Yeah, so if
That's
we don't
based
do
on
it
my
anymore, it's your
performance.
fault, Bruce.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much.